What's up, people? This is Robert Basami. I put out a video for you guys um, titled Star Constellations in the Atmospheric Barrier Location. And it got a lot of attention. I did a subsequent hangout after that. We briefly talked about it, showed you guys a few things that I discovered with the European Southern Observatory. With the shooting of 4 lasers up into the atmosphere, and those lasers hitting a sodium atom layer at 90 to 110 kilometers up into the sky. Okay? And I said that, this potentially definitively provides the proof that there's a firmament, and it's a sodium atom layer. Now, coincidentally, there's most likely an identical layer, impenetrable barrier layer, down in the depths of the ocean. And I need to find that video. I'm going to try to find it for you guys and include it in here. What is below is above, right? But I decided to put together this short video involving that one video clip of Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins returning from their moon mission, okay, where they were faking the distance inside the capsule, putting a piece of paper up to the window. I guess they were being instructed from somebody by the DOD and the CIA and NASA on how to create the illusion that they were further away from the Earth. When they moved the picture, thinking that nobody was looking, they're in low Earth orbit. Okay, where that actually is, I'm still questioning it now. But based on what the European Southern Observatory is telling us, where the sodium atom layer is, that means that if they can create artificial stars at between 90 and 110 kilometers, there's got to be more than likely 15 to 20 kilometers of this sodium layer that's impenetrable, because that's where the laser stopped, so to speak. That means the moon is definitely closer. That means that when I show this video and you hear again, because we've all heard this clip before by Neil Armstrong, where he just has selective memory and says, he saw stars or whatever, and then Michael Collins says, well, that's funny, I don't remember seeing any stars. Well, if they were, how could they have not seen any stars? Could they have somehow gotten outside this sodium atom layer? Or were they under that layer? Or were they low, or were they somewhere else where there just wasn't any glowing sodium atoms at all? So that's the question here. Could these guys have gotten above this layer? Could they have learned how to get above this layer? Was a hole blown through this sodium atom layer to allow for any rocket to potentially get through this barrier, and it remained open, where vehicles can get through this thing to get out above it, and then you don't see any more stars? Because based on what we see from the surface of the Earth, we see what we believe to be the star celestial constellations, right, that are fixed. But I'm going to play this video, and let's just go through this. I hate reposting this kind of stuff because I never wanted to address the Apollo issue. But if they can shoot lasers up into the sky to create artificial stars by exciting sodium atoms so they glow to look like constellations, that means the moon is definitely closer, which begs the possibility, could we have already gotten to the moon? And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to come at me after I post this video, and they're going to make all kinds of comments. Most of them are going to be flat earthers. Most of them are going to be, moon enthusiasts who will say, yeah, we went there, it's 238,000 miles. The moon is not 238,000 miles, 258,000 miles. European Southern Observatory shot a laser at the moon, and it damn sure ain't even 1,000 miles from the Earth. That's all I'm going to say on that. But let me play this video real quick for you guys, okay?
When you looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars in the solar corona in spite of the glare?
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics. I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar corona what stars we could see.
I don't remember seeing any.
Okay, so you hear Michael Collins saying, I don't remember seeing any. The only way possible that Michael Collins could say what he's saying, that he don't remember seeing any stars at all. There's supposed to be billions of them out in space. Especially if you're claiming to travel 258,000 miles from the surface of the Earth. Is they were either above this sodium atom layer, which could be 120, 130 kilometers, 150 kilometers, maybe 200 kilometers, maybe. But if you're, let's just say for argument's sake, you could get to 258,000 miles. Why don't you see any stars? Even with your own eye. I mean, these guys, Michael Collins is looking out of the lunar module. Neil Armstrong is looking out of his own helmet and visor, looking out. And you're trying to tell me all these guys don't see the same thing, and you got this third guy on the side there looking out into the audience like, oh boy, I'm glad I didn't have to answer that question. Michael, what is Michael Collins saying? I mean, these are things that we now have to revisit and reconsider. Could it have been possible they got to the moon? Is the moon some sort of celestial body that is solid that you can land on, you can walk on? Is it possible? We don't even know. We don't know what the moon is. People saying they're seeing waves. The moon is generating its own light. Got my boy Luke Francis is saying that somehow the sun is recharging the moon and it's glowing in the dark like it would if you have these little painted little fluorescent stickers on the wall in your kid's bedroom, and in the daytime they get all this light from the daytime, and then when you turn off the lights they glow. Luke's on to something there. The fact that the sun could potentially in the daytime be recharging the moon for it to have its light at night. But what happens on those time frames when you got like a quarter? I mean, when we see the phases of the moon going from a full moon down to, half moon to a quarter moon or 3/4 moon, and then it just goes dark and there's no moon at all, that's similar to a damn battery losing its charge. When you have your cell phone, right, you maybe, depending on how much you use your cell phone, your battery starts to lose its juice, man. It's got to be recharged somehow, right? So you got to think of the moon like that now. And if that's the case, wow, man. That's all I got to say is wow.
Years later, though, Michael Collins would remember seeing the elusive stars and wrote about them in expeditions to the moon. It seems his memory improved the older he got. Why don't stars appear in any of the photographs? Simply because the proper, mostly closed exposure setting for the camera's iris, set that way to compensate for the bright sunlight on the moon's surface, completely diminished the faintness of relatively distant specks of diminutive light.
Now, when you look at this photo here, real or fake, the way she's explaining this is that the camera's lens and aperture was set to compensate for the bright light that the sun was giving off, right? So when they take this photo, you see all of these specks in the background. But that doesn't confirm the distance. That doesn't confirm or close the door on the issue of where the moon actually is located. I'd never believed it was 258,000 miles. Not in 1969, not in 2016. Based on what we find out from the European Southern Observatory, you got stars at 90 to 110 kilometers. Because that's where they can create the artificial stars in exciting sodium atoms. Let's continue.
Answer is true. It does not, however, explain why they never took any pictures of the stars by themselves, with an exposure setting perfect for them. While they took 3 automobiles to the moon, they never took a photographic telescope. Had they done so, they would have been able to see farther into the universe than had ever before been realized. If they had taken a telescope and were not actually on the moon, they would have had to concoct undiscovered galaxies that might one day prove to be non-existent.
Undiscovered galaxies proved to be non-existent. How about that? That's comical. That's really comical.
Old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance, in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. It cannot be misconstrued that this staging was done for some other reason prior to the mission, for the reel itself is slated and dated July 18th, 19th, and 20th, 1969, the very days of the mission when they were said to be approaching and achieving lunar orbit. Furthermore, it is apparent they are in genuine zero gravity aboard the actual spacecraft, necessary to convince the mass media of their authenticity, just not any further than Earth orbit, as you will see. In this never-before-seen or heard footage, not only is the radio conversation between the astronauts and Houston Control audible, there is a secondary, private conversation taking place between the crew and a third confidential party, prompting the astronauts with what to say, when to speak, and how to effectively manipulate the camera to achieve the desired misleading effect. NASA claims that the Houston transmissions were the only ones taking place with the astronauts. Listen now as Houston Control initiates a conversation with the crew, only to find them too preoccupied with the behind-the-scenes trickery to respond. Moments pass, and the oversight is picked up on by the clandestine third party, who quickly prompts them with talk. Immediately, Neil Armstrong speaks.
Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over.
Again, the illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a distance to demonstrate their far journey from it, and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private, until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first screened and edited for playback later.
Roger, Neil, we just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get to playback, we can sort of correlate what we're saying. Thank you very much.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows, as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in from the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government will have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is place the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. Here you can see the extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earth's shine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom and the inside of the window at the top.
And you can be guaranteed that what they did back in 1960s, late 1960s, what they did back then, and taking a camera and pointing it out one of the windows of these so-called spacecraft that they claim to be launching out into space, you better believe they're doing the same thing today. It just so happens that the windows are a little bit bigger and you can see more of the Earth. You better believe that they're taking cameras. They got multiple cameras. They got better cameras, high definition cameras, pointed down at the Earth, giving you the illusion that they are literally 245 miles or 300 miles or 500 miles or 1,000 miles out away from the Earth. The Epic camera, you better believe that damn camera don't exist. There ain't no way. Every picture you probably ever seen of the Earth as a blue marble ain't taken from no camera thousands of miles, millions of miles away from the Earth. It's being taken exactly as you see it right here and now. They ain't doing not a goddamn thing different from what they did in the 1960s. Period. Which means, for me, the moon is definitely closer. Definitely. It ain't even 1,000 miles. It ain't even 500 miles. The moon is definitely closer. I had a girl send me an email. I think she made a comment on, I think it was either a private email. She made a comment on one of my videos. She said she bought a pair of $20 binoculars from Walmart. And she asked me, Robert, can you explain to me why, if I can use a pair of $20 binoculars to see the craters on the moon, how is that possible if the moon's 258,000 miles away? And you could all guess what my response was. The moon ain't 258,000 miles. That's how she can use a pair of $20 binoculars to see the craters on the moon. Period. Period. You're going to tell me the moon is 258,000 miles, and if you took the same pair of $20 binoculars and you were on the moon, you should be able to see the hole in the damn ground or some volcano or meteor crater that hit the Earth, right? If you can look out away from the Earth and see the craters on the moon, then you should be able to look from the moon down at the Earth to see these craters in all this detail. You can't. It's not possible from that great distance. The only way you can see that shit is that the moon is closer. Period. In our atmosphere. Let me continue.
Together form 2 different sized halves of a circle. Subsequently, this take was never used. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience, dated July 18, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also states on this date, when he is in reality in low Earth orbit of a few hundred miles.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Here, during another segment, also intended to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
North America becomes invisible just off beyond the Terminator or inside the shadow.
You can also notice how the astronaut operating the camera reacted to the mistake by attempting to pan away from it.
Blue gas, the white band, major cloud formation across the Earth.
This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert. Finally, the iris is opened up, and you can see the real location of the camera, and the very bright and near Earth out the window. Here is the slate for the 19th of July, and the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July, and then the 20th, and the same misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away? Furthermore, if they genuinely went to the moon, why would they be faking any part of it? Why this trickery with the window? By faking being halfway to the moon, it becomes apparent that they did so because they could not even go halfway. It thus confirms that the stumbling block to their success was the lethal radiation of the Van Allen radiation belts. Since the same equipment was used on the subsequent missions in the 40 months that followed, none of them could have gone to the moon. They only increased their proficiency at staging them. When some TV viewers of the second manned mission to the moon telephoned the networks complaining that reruns of I Love Lucy were being interrupted, it became clear that for the taxpayers, once was enough. But it wasn't enough for the government and contractors. Billions of dollars of pure profit went with each return. How coincidental that the following mission would have the element of life and death jeopardy. Apollo 13. Now the public would take going to the moon more seriously and be reconnected with the drama. We now realize that perhaps the reason Neil Armstrong has never given an on-camera interview is because he doesn't want to lie anymore. What threats may have been made upon such honorable men or their families to possess their reluctant cooperation and later ill feelings towards perpetuating this still darkened hour in American history? NASA's highest-ranking official, James Webb, resigned without explanation just days before the first Apollo mission. Why, when he was on the threshold of achieving the greatest accomplishment of his career? All 3 Apollo 11 astronauts also resigned shortly after their return. On the 25th anniversary of the event, in 1994, Neil Armstrong made a rare public appearance and held back tears as he spoke these brief cryptic remarks before the next generation of taxpayers as they toured the White House.
Today we have with us a group of students among America's best. To you we say, we have only completed the beginning. We leave you much that is undone. there are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of the truth's protective layers.
He is that layer. Perhaps someday soon, with the uncovering of this footage and its meaning, the true patriots of America will rise up, or come forward, and free the citizens and themselves from the sin that so easily entangles, and from a federal government that needs to have the gangrene cut off. Even if the government's destruction would come from the truth, then it is not worthy to stand, and its betterment would inevitably follow. All of us are mortal. All of us will die. Perhaps the seeking of a clear conscience before that hour will motivate the truth into the light. Perhaps as citizens we should offer amnesty for this and other crimes of history, for facts from those involved, before the truth perishes with them. Why must we wait until the year 2017 to open the Kennedy assassination files? Perhaps they will not even be opened then, for the law that reluctantly stipulates their release says so with this clause, quote, with the exception of documents certified for continued postponement by the President. Whoever believes the citizens to be too immature for the truth are too immature for power. The truth will always set us free.
So, truth's protective veil. Body of lies. The truth is so precious, she must be attended by a bodyguard of lies. That's Winston Churchill. I've been saying in my videos, I am on a journey to take out some of these bodyguards of lies, to release the truth, what the really hell is going on. I am not putting out this video to get into a redundant circular debate about if we went to the moon or not, if the moon landings were faked or not. What I'm saying to you is this: the moon is not where they say it is. It's not 238,000, 258,000 miles from the surface of the earth. And I'm basing that claim on the fact that the European Southern Observatory can shoot a laser up into the nighttime sky to excite sodium atoms so that they can glow to create artificial stars. 22-watt laser. 4 of them to be exact, on 4 telescopes, which means they can create 16 stars. Somehow this was done in history as well. If you look at the pyramids. The moon is not where they say it is, people. Did we go there? If it's closer, which I believe it is closer, there's a possibility. There's a possibility. Is the moon an object you could land on and walk around on? Probably not. And I think they realized that, so they had to fake it. There's just ain't no way. Rockets can get to 73 miles. So the moon is somewhere from 0 to 73 miles. And they're able to take photographs and do topography imaging of the moon. And I'm going with Luke Francis. I'm now believing that the moon is being recharged by the sun. Right now, as we speak, I put up this video, it's daylight. The moon is being recharged. And it's going to show its light tonight. I'm not sure if the Bible is right when they said that a light was created for the day and a light was created for the night. I think one is dependent on the other. I really do think that one was dependent on the other. Because for the moon to go through its phases from full to half to 3/4, to a quarter moon, what they call an Islamic moon, that means it's losing its charge. The moon ain't rotating. It's not rotating at all. People say they can see the dark side. The hell you can. You can't see the dark side when you see a quarter moon, half moon, full moon. You just can't see it. Period. Doesn't happen that way. So for me, I'm going with Luke Francis on the sun is recharging the moon, and the moon is closer. And I think I've got enough definitive proof from the European Southern Observatory that I put out already, and some data I still am holding on to. I'm just not comfortable releasing yet. And you guys know me, I got documentation. So if I'm telling you I got to hold on to a document, I got to hold on to it. You got those out there who's not going to believe me. I don't care. Prove me wrong. Find your own evidence. Don't show me some NASA video. Because look, I just showed you NASA video. Taking their own information and using it against them. Period. That's how it works. I'm not fabricating this. They fabricated it, not me. But let me try to find this video with regard to the barrier that they found in the ocean. Stand by. So I found that video that was reposted of this guy, Mike Magrudy, who went down in a submarine somewhere off the coast of Mexico and found this layer that was impenetrable. They said it was some sort of lake, and there was mussels on top of it. And when they tried to descend down inside of it, they bounced off of it. So again, what is below is above, right? Above us is sodium atoms. Below us is some other type of saline density. So I'm going to play this, let you guys hear it. Okay, here we go.
The ocean's floor was only just discovered in the 1990s. And Mike Magrudy is one of a handful of people to ever see it in person.
Without a doubt, one of the most amazing things that I have ever seen in the bottom of the ocean. It was while filming for Blue Planets in the Gulf of Mexico. And I noticed there's something out in the distance. Couldn't tell exactly what, but it looked like a dark band. And as we approached it, the dark band became a donut. I saw this donut. It was black in the center. What the heck is that? And so, as we get closer and closer to it, I noticed that the black band had what appeared to be kind of steam over it. And then I looked, and there was water lapping against the shoreline. This band was a ring of mussels. And inside the ring of mussels was a lake. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. We went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend in it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down in it. We literally bounced off, and as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Now here's the interesting thing about that video. That shit was pretty hard for me to find. That's pretty difficult for me to locate. It really was. I went searching and searching for that video, and it took me a couple of minutes to find it. I couldn't even find a good enough version of it, but I just wanted to be able to put this vid together for you guys, give you something to reconsider and look over. So, as we start to put the pieces of this puzzle together, if you take a look at the video I put out 2 days ago titled Star Constellations and Atmospheric Barrier Location, and then you take what we talked about in Discovery of Everything, Nothing, and this video, and start going through some of the other videos I put together. Where space begins, tyranny of the rocket equation. Might want to check that bad boy out. Look at the other one on the phone call with the Soho team. Might want to check out the black hole over Antarctica and Arctic and the ISS and Zariah, that one single module. I still think it's a single module on a balloon. Check out the Antarctic slideshow. Got a whole host of things for you guys to check out. For those that are still in denial, you don't know what to believe, you want to go with whatever the collective narrative is that the government's pushing to you, you might want to check out this video here, Flat Earth Philosophy, Why Radical Ideas and Constructs Are Rejected. It's a good video. For those who want to know why I got this habit of cursing, check out my video, Flat Earth Motherfucker Earth Lingo. Yeah? Check it out. For those of you who've already seen that, the Sophia, the Real Hubble, and Chandra Telescope, you might want to look at this video first before you look at this one. Check this one out, then check this one out. But after you look at this one, this guy and I have a conversation. He misstates some things that he didn't know about with regard to Sophia. So literally the next day I corrected him because I found the actual document. So when you look at this video, go to this one, Astrophysics at 45,000 feet, Sophia wavelength capability, and then I had this conversation with this guy. All right? You want to check that out. Still trying to discover what space is, superfluid helium or something else. I had a conversation with the Brookhaven and Berkeley National Laboratories with regard to physics. Might want to check that out. All right. Mr. Don Pettit, no human has ever left space. My conversation with Eric Dollard. And my theory and idea that is space superfluid, Vanta black, and sulfur hexafluoride. Never know. You want your kids to listen in on Children's Concept of the World in 1929? Right? What they think of the Earth? I got another video, Flat Earth for Kids. Now, ain't no cursing in that one, of course. Those who are on the Freemason kick, check out this. Real Freemasons and Arab Shriners. You'll love this video too. Hubble makes Earth stop moving. Again. Flat Earth Guidance Law. That's real right there. Show the documents for that bad boy. You'll always want to check out NASA's Software Development Vault. You'll love that one. And 3 months ago, I'm not sure if I was the first one to talk about... artificial stars. But here goes a video where I talked about Ale and the Obayashi Corporation. Check it out. Okay? Again, people, be good to yourselves. Have fun. Remember, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And my new slogan is setting the truth free from a lifetime of bondage. Take care, people. Peace out.